everyone! If you're ever in Hong Kong and got a day to spare, I suggest you take the ferry to Macau, a small city that's only about 30.5 square kilometers. In today's video, I take an early ferry ride to Macau, about an hour boat ride from Hong Kong, where I show you what souvenirs to buy, what to eat, and what places to check out. Seating on the boat is actually quite comfortable, and although you do have the option to buy food on the boat, I suggest you wait until you get there because there's plenty to eat once you dock. The very first thing I would recommend eating, and I would say it is one of Macau's most popular foods, is milk pudding from Yi Sun Dairy Company. Milk pudding is a little softer and silkier than tofu pudding or flan, and although you can have it with toppings, it is naturally sweet, so you don't really need to add additional ingredients. You can have it hot or cold. It was a little windy when I was there, so I opted for the warm option. It is so creamy and silky. I recommend this highly if you're into that kind of texture and subtle flavor. And for those of you who have trouble reading Chinese, just look out for that cow logo, and there are several locations, especially if you hit up popular tourist places, so you won't be afraid of missing out. Another famous food to check out is zhi pa bao, pork chop buns. The bun should be crispy on the outside and soft on the inside, with a fried pork chop inside. Traditionally, these are the only ingredients, and it is quite a simple dish. You can also find places selling pork chop buns everywhere in Macau, so my tip for you is if you see a lineup, then it's probably a good place to go and grab one. A bit of history lesson, Macau was a trading port for the Portuguese in the 16th century, so a lot of the buildings and historical landmarks here have a very heavy Portuguese influence to them. The streets you are seeing right now are in the Senado Square area, one of the 4 largest squares in Macau, and it is a delightful mix of modern shopping stores and historical architecture. There was a wedding ceremony open to the public while I was there, so I got to check that out for a little while. Walking along, I noticed another store that was selling pork chop buns. So I figured, well, I'm already here, let's eat another one. But they were also selling Portuguese tarts, which are another must-eat for me in Macau. As you can see, pork chop buns are kind of like hamburgers. The ingredients may be the same, but they all look a little different. This pork chop bun has bone in it, which I find makes the meat a little more juicy, but of course that does make eating it a little messy. If you're wondering what the difference is between a Portuguese tart and an egg tart, here's a couple tips. Portuguese tart have a cinnamon-flavored custard in a flaky crust, while egg tarts are in a plain egg or vanilla egg custard. Portuguese tarts always have a flaky puff pastry crust, while egg tarts can differ in tart shells. Finally, Portuguese tarts should always have a nice little browning to it at the top, while egg tarts are more smooth and flat. Once you're full, you can walk the streets of Macau and decide what you want to take home to eat. Macau squares are littered with food-related souvenir stalls, and most of them will let you sample before you buy. In fact, it's hard to walk through the entire street without at least 2 or 3 people putting a biscuit or jerky in your hand. Souvenir recommendation number 1, Macau jerky. They come in a variety of flavors, and you can choose from beef, pork, or other meats if you're lucky. I tend to like the thicker cuts with a sweet glaze because it feels and tastes very different from Caucasian jerky, and it's definitely a good snack to munch on while at work or watching TV. Souvenir recommendation number 2, egg rolls. Light and flaky egg rolls are an iconic souvenir to bring back from Macau. My favorite, on the other hand, is Phoenix rolls, which are just a flatter version of egg rolls, but with seaweed and pork fluff inside. As you look around though, you'll find that there's an abundance of snacks to choose from, and the hard part isn't thinking of what souvenirs to buy, it's how to take everything home after. As you're in the same general area, also check out a landmark as famous as the Eiffel Tower in Paris, the ruins of St. Paul. It was starting to rain while I was there, but looking at the number of umbrellas, that didn't stop tourists from climbing up the steps. Bonus tip, it's customary to throw coins into the top window of the ruins from the stairs for luck. While I was there, Macau was also having their light festival. There was a Christmas tree, decorations, light displays, and I'm sure plenty more once the sky is dark and the lights can really shine bright. According to travelers who were there at night, from 7 to 10 p.m. there was a 3D mapping projection that is fun to watch. I'm not quite sure if this is an annual tradition yet, but make sure if you are planning to visit Macau during those months to see if you can catch the festivities. Besides eating and sightseeing, Macau also has the nickname of Asian Vegas because of its abundance of grand hotels. They have the Venetian there, which from my Vegas video you know is one of my favorite hotels. But I figured since I went to the Venetian in Vegas not too long ago, I would check out their newest hotel that opened in 2015, Studio City. Studio City has a couple of main attractions. Number 1, Golden Reel, which is a figure-8 Ferris wheel 130 meters in the air. Number 2, the House of Magic, which is a magic show with a world-famous illusionist. And number 3, Batman Dark Flight, a 4D adventure ride. So walking around, the hotel is quite neat. There's different sections that create various vibes, like this street that kind of makes me feel like this is what walking in Gotham would be like, minus a lot of crime. I didn't have time to check out the Ferris wheel, but I was curious to see what the 4D Batman adventure would be like, so I made a dash for that before catching the Ferris back to Hong Kong. As the ride and the hotel is still fairly new, there was quite a bit of lineup to try the new ride out. So on to my overall thoughts. Let's start with the ride first. If you've been to Universal Studios or major theme parks, the ride really wasn't all that impressive in comparison. But if you have never experienced a 4D ride before, or you have fairly young children, then I would suggest you try it out because it is still a cool experience in general. Was it a little pricey for what it was? Yes, but considering it is a brand new hotel, I guess I can see where the price was coming from. Studio City as a hotel seems very cool, and since it's relatively new, if I'm in Macau next time, I would definitely try to stay there for a night or two. There are tons of packages that include ferry, hotel, and attractions, so I suggest you look for those if you plan on making a trip. Macau is a great little place for a day or weekend trip, and there is tons more to eat and do than what I showed you. Unfortunately, the rainy, windy weather and the rush of a day trip did dampen my spirits a little bit, but the good news is if you're not on a very tight schedule, you can choose to head to Macau whenever you like. If you've been and you know of some cool places for me to check out, let me know. I'll keep them in mind for my next trip there. So that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, subscribe and join me on my next adventure. See you next video. Bye!